I want to come right out of the gates and let's just put it right up front. Does this really matter?
Yes.
That's the right answer, yes. But, I mean, I think that's a question, if you've never really been completely involved in it, that we have to just be up front with. Does this really matter? Does the big brother approach, little brother approach, is it important? And the way I would respond to that is, this group on Monday nights and the group that we started on Saturday mornings was founded on the principle of big brother, little brother approach to community. And over the course of the 2 years since we've started these groups, a lot of things have changed, but that hasn't. That hasn't changed. And some of you guys in this room have done a really good job of integrating yourself into that style of community. What I would say, and this is just my own personal opinion, but if it's the truth, it's very, very important. So I want everybody to hear this. If this group is, I believe, if this group is going to continue in the future, if this group is going to grow, and if this group is going to grow into something that honors and is worthy of the glory of God, most of us in this room, if not all of us in this room, are going to have to at some point engage with big brother, little brother, and community. The future of this group and the future of the Saturday morning group, I believe, depends on that. So what we're talking about tonight is critically important. It's super, super important. But first of all, what is it? We got to cast a vision, right? What is Big Brother? For me, what that means is, for every guy in Blue Ridge to have one hand forward, one hand back, running towards God. And what I mean by that is, the hand going forward is reaching out to a bigger brother, that is somebody who's just a little bit further along in the journey, who's invited them on that journey, and they're running along with them. And the left hand reaching back to somebody who's back just a little bit further behind them. And the reason I think that's important is twofold. First of all, from what I've observed from people who've been doing this walk for a long time, is that's really the only thing that works. Or I should say, it's what works most effectively. It can, from the very beginning, put you on a fast track to a great relationship with God, and it can keep you there for extended periods of time. The other reason that I think it's significant is, if you look at examples of Jesus Christ in the Bible and how he interacted not only with God but with other believers, he was very family-oriented. He spoke with a familial tone. What I mean by that is, let's look at a couple things. Whenever the disciples asked him to teach them to pray, what's the very first word that he said? Father. That's right. A familiar word. Whenever he referred to his fellow Christ followers, he referred to them as brothers and sisters. And we see him interacting with his disciples. We see 12 men who were following him, who were imprinting upon him. And still, even to this day, for most of us, that's what we do. We try to imprint our lives in such a way that we're following Jesus Christ. So we know that, first of all, it's significant, and second of all, I think it's the way God designed it to be. So here we are, a bunch of guys trying to run, one hand forward, one hand back, running towards God. So what I want you to do is take a look at your hands for a second. All right, so put your hands out there. Take a look at your right hand. This is the hand that you've got reached out to your big brother. I want you to take a look at your hand. Whose names are written on your hand right there? Whose names do you see there? It may just be one, maybe more than one. It may not be any. But what we've talked about, this is important for the future of this group and for the future of each of us individually in our relationship with God. Now take a look at your left hand. This is the hand that you extend back to your little brothers. Whose names are written on that? Okay, everybody can put your hands down. Somebody walks in to think we're doing Tai Chi in here or something. But it is significantly important. So what I want to do tonight is I want to talk about the names that are on my right hand, the names that are on my left hand, and the things that I've learned over the last 3 years from interacting with these two hands. First of all, I'll start with my right hand. That's the hand that I've reached out in the past to big brothers. And I'm very lucky because I have more than one name written on this hand. But what I'm going to talk about, first of all, is my primary big brother, which is Woody. And he's rubbing his head right now thinking, oh, he's going to say my name. Yeah. But Woody is my primary big brother. And how did that start? What's it look like to go out and find a big brother? First of all, you need to pray about it. You need to ask God to bring someone into your life, obviously. You don't want to just run off and do it on your own. But the other thing that I would say about that is, don't spend the next year of your life sitting in your room waiting for a sign from God. You need to be intentional about it. Go out and give God some room to work with. For me, what that meant was I needed to find somebody who I enjoyed their company. I enjoyed conversations with them. And more importantly, I found somebody who had a relationship with God that I wanted. That's real, real important, guys. When you're looking for a big brother, go out and find somebody that you look at their relationship with God and you say, I want that. So that's the first component. Be intentional. Go out, seek them out. And then what did I do? How you doing? I started tracking him. What that means is if there was an environment and Woody's teaching it or Woody's in it, if I'm not currently in it, I've been in it at some point. So I put myself in front of him repeatedly. I sat and I listened. I watched him. I started to imprint on him. The next thing is I had to be transparent with him. And I think most of you guys do a very good job. I think that's something that this group as a whole we do very, very good with, is being transparent. But I had to be honest with him. This is where I'm at in my life. This is what's going on in my life. He couldn't speak truth into my life if I wasn't being honest about where I was with him. And then finally, the true test is, do you really want to have this relationship? Is when your big brother tells you something maybe that you don't want to do, or maybe something that you don't want to hear. And then you've got a decision to make at that point. You know, for me, it's like with Woody when he sat down, he said, you know, Will, tithing really changed my relationship with God. And it will cause your faith to explode, and it will change your orientation towards God. I had a decision to make. Do I really, really want Woody's relationship with God? Is this something I really want? Or do I want to kind of create my own thing over here? So those are some of the lessons that I've learned from the guys on my right hand, reaching out to my big brothers. Now let's talk about the guys on my left hand, my little brothers. First of all, I want to tell you what it's not, what I've learned that it isn't. This is a little bit different than being a teacher or a mentor. I think that's one of the things that keeps a lot of us to move in this direction, because we feel like we're not qualified. Basically, for me, what it's been is all you're doing is inviting someone who's just a little bit younger in their walk and inviting them to start run with you, inviting them to come on your journey with you. The other thing that it's not, that I've learned, is you're not fixing someone. Look, guys, I can't fix my own problems. Why would I think that I'm going to go out and fix somebody else's problems? As a matter of fact, when I reflect back on my life, when I try to step in and fix my own problems, I typically screw things up worse. What I have to do is take my focus off my problems and put them on God. It's the same thing I do with my little brothers. Most of the time, I'm just helping them to take their focus off their current situation, taking their hand and walking them back towards God. So what are the advantages of having a little brother? It may sound like a lot of work, right? What would be the advantages to doing that? For me, what I found was, first of all, it took my relationship with God from being something that was a me-centered relationship. If you want your relationship with God to get stale really quickly, it's been my experience, make it all about you. And it'll get stale really, really quickly. Once I started to focus my attention on other guys and other guys' problems, all of a sudden I realized that I wasn't focusing so much on my problems, and they started to disappear, or at least the perception of my problems started to disappear. It completely changed my prayer life. So I had guys now that I was praying for. I had guys that were praying for me. And what I found from that was I began to see God work through prayer. It really built my faith and taught me the importance of prayer. Another thing that it does, and I've talked about this before, is it's a great oral journal for me, basically, to remember the things that God has done for me. When I sit around a table and I talk to a guy and I tell him, you know, this is what God did for me in my life when I was in your situation. A lot of times as I'm saying that, I'm thinking to myself, I completely forgot this. I didn't even remember this. Or I've stopped implementing the lessons that I learned from this experience in my life, and I need to get back on track. So it's a great way for me, as I interact with my younger brothers, for me to remember those things. And another thing is, it gives your big brother, the guys who are investing time in you, it gives them a return on their investment. You know, a lot of times guys will come up to me and they'll say, well, you know, I wish there was some way that I could repay you for the time that you've invested in me. And I know what they're saying. I feel the same way about Woody. I feel the same way about Dave. I feel the same way about Steven, the guys who've taken time to invest in me. In reality, the answer to that is take what they've given to you and give them a return on their investment. Turn around and give it to somebody else. You can take their investment in time and you can double it, you can triple it, quadruple it, or times it by 50. So give your big brother a return on investment. So right hand, left hand. Right hand reaches out to your big brothers, left hand reaches out to your little brothers. Everybody's running towards God. So what's it like once you get both of them connected? So we got both hands connected now. Well, first of all, I want you to imagine if you were going for a run and you got one hand connected to the guy in front of you and one hand connected to the guy behind you. What can you not do? You can't slow down. You can't slow down. You can't stop. I can't take some side trail down into a rabbit hole somewhere.